This video, I'm going to talk about 3 animal foods that are actually healthy. I try to be as unbiased as possible. My advice does tend to lean towards whole plant foods, but there are still animal foods that I consider healthy for the average person. On the internet, people often don't have any nuance and they think all animal foods are healthy, or the opposite, and that is not true according to the literature. So number 1, fatty fish. And basically, fish that is high in omega-3 consistently shows that it decreases all-cause mortality rates. It decreases heart disease rates, it decreases inflammation, cancer rates, and all-cause mortality is basically the best metric because it's all the diseases combined. And if something even decreases all-cause mortality by 10%, that's already insane. Even 5% is a pretty good number considering how hard it is to actually move the needle when it comes to all-cause mortality. In this study, for example, with over 42,000 participants, the people that consumed the most omega-3, they had a 13% lower all-cause mortality. And that's insane, by the way. One thing I found interesting about this study, though, is that when you track EPA and DHA, which are the long-chain omega-3s, at the end of the conversion chain, we actually did not see a limit in reduction in all-cause mortality. There are diminishing returns, but the people that ate the most omega-3s, they lived the longest. They had the lowest mortality rates. DHA seems to be the one doing the heavy lifting when it comes to the top percentile. But when you supplement omega-3 or when you eat fish, you're already getting both. You're getting EPA and DHA. So according to this study, it seems that the more the better. The more omega-3 you get, the more EPA and DHA, the lower the mortality rate, and the more likely you are to live longer, basically. And healthy sources of omega-3 are, for example, salmon, sardines, fish oil, algae oil, walnuts, ground flax seeds, etc. Walnuts and ground flax seeds, they are the short chain, while all these other ones, they are the long chain. So they're better in terms of conversion, since these ones, they contain ALA, which then have to convert, which later have to convert to EPA and DHA. So it's recommended to consume a long chain, and in my opinion, the best way to consume it is either with fish oil or algae oil. Fish oil tends to be much cheaper, but the source is extremely important because you need to buy a source that you're 100% confident that does not have any heavy metals. And if you don't want to do the research yourself, join the Skool community if you're curious, if you want to know what are the best fish oil supplements without any heavy metal contamination. Number 2, yogurt. So basically, according to this meta-analysis, people that consume more yogurt compared to less, they had 7% lower all-cause mortality rate, which is not as extreme as, for example, the fatty fish, which was around 13% lower all-cause mortality, but it's still a good number. It's still much better than what most people eat, right? So yogurt is basically fermented dairy, but it's not high in saturated fats. Yogurt has probiotics, has vitamins, minerals, calcium, for example, because it's dairy. And ideally, you would want one that is low fat, so that it's low in saturated fat, and low in added sugar, because it's usually white sugar that they add. And that way you minimize both refined carbs and also saturated fat intake. And that's probably the best way to consume it, according to the literature. And by the way, if you want to know the best diet to reach 100% of all the micronutrients, you can click the link in the pinned comment and join my Skool community. So join if you're curious, and if you want to get micronutrients that look like this, where basically you don't have any deficiency, you have high testosterone, all the vitamins, all the minerals, all the amino acids. So yeah, join the Skool community if you want to know how you can do that for yourself. Number 3, whey protein. So according to this systematic review, meta-analysis, and meta-regression, protein supplementation is a net positive. It improves muscle mass, it improves body composition, it improves strength, and those are predictors of longevity. There was a positive effect of protein supplementation, but not beyond 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight. So if you cannot reach 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram body weight with your diet alone, then it's probably a smart idea to have protein powder included in your diet. Pea protein is healthier, it has blood pressure benefits, and whey protein tastes better and absorbs better. So it depends on your priority. And getting enough protein, especially in old age, is extremely important when it comes to longevity. So it is a predictor of longer lifespan. Since sarcopenia, which is muscle loss, is a huge predictor of higher mortality rates. And here's something interesting. According to this study, here's the reference, shifting 3% of calories from animal protein to animal protein is associated with a 10% decrease in all-cause mortality, which is insane, by the way. So animal protein is better for absorption, and plant protein is better for longevity. So animal protein has more leucine, which is good for muscle, but more methionine, which is bad for aging. So there's a trade-off. Plant proteins do have the benefit of longevity, as you can see from this part, from this study. But like I said, I do believe that for the average person, all the foods mentioned in this video are net positive when it comes to health. So summary, fatty fish, yogurt, and whey protein. These are all foods that, according to the studies, they seem to be net positive when it comes to health. And they're animal foods. And again, if you want to know what is the best diet to reach 100% of all the micronutrient RDIs, recommended daily intakes, then you can join my school community with the link in the pinned comment, and I promise you it's going to be way better information than you find in primal YouTube channels.